What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are discussing Penn State ahead of the 2025 season. If you like this content, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. All of that goes a long way for a new channel like this. And thank you if you've done that. Usual disclaimer for a May recording, stuff is still going to change. Players are still bouncing around the portal. Penn State just added Trevor Pena. I'm not sure that's the final addition to this team. Summer will decide some of these position battles. If you disagree with something, let me know in the comments and tell me why, more importantly. We're always trying to get better and learn more about these teams video by video. So let's talk about Penn State last year briefly before moving forward to this season. Last year, they were a playoff team, and the results basically tell you they were maybe the 10th best team in the country. They lost the games where the teams were clearly ahead of them, and they won everything else. The only losses they took were to Oregon, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Every single one of those teams was elite. Every one of those teams was in the playoff, and all of those losses were by single digits. So it was an extremely good season for Penn State. They were right there on the cusp of doing something special. And now moving forward, they are going to be making a few changes to hopefully get them over that hump. So last year, the efficiency metrics were all pretty good. The only place they trailed even a little bit was their offensive line, and that made sense. That was a unit that replaced multiple starters heading into last year. This season, there's a lot more continuity, and the coaching staff is a little bit different this year as well. First and foremost, we start with James Franklin. He is back again, 12th season. He is 101-42 in his career with Penn State. That includes the 13-3 finish last year. Penn State beat Boise in the first round of the playoff before they lost that game to Notre Dame. Again, all their losses were by single digits to playoff teams. Franklin's now won double-digit games in each of the last 3 seasons. And if we had the expanded playoff for all of those seasons, Penn State would have been a playoff team in every one. They were a victim of the previous structure of the Big Ten, and now they are a beneficiary of the current structure. And speaking to the changes Penn State is making to try to get over that final hump, the Ohio States, Michigans, they are Penn State, the Oregons now, I suppose, and Notre Dame's, those caliber teams, they've changed coordinators each of the last 2 years. Last year, they bring in a new OC, Andy Kotelnicki. We saw the fruits of that change immediately. Drew Aller had a complete turnaround, was one of the most productive quarterbacks in the country. The rushing attack was dynamic. The problems they had and the lack of talent at certain positions, Kotelnicki did a phenomenal job masking and playing to the strengths of this team. This year, they changed the DC. They go out and they poach Jim Knowles from Ohio State, who's been an awesome coordinator all the way back to his days with OK State. So now you have some of the best coaches in the entire country on both sides of the ball to work with. We immediately see how Penn State is treating this season and moving forward, what to expect from this team. They're fully invested, and they're going to invest not only in players, but in the coaching staff as well. So let's look at player acquisition, recruiting over the last few cycles, and retention. This team has been either 15th or 14th in recruiting each of the last 3 years. That's top 5 in the Big Ten. And the big thing with Penn State that a lot of teams don't have is this retention. That's what the graph indicates. 71% of their 2023 class is still there, 92% last year. Incoming class hasn't lost anyone yet. So they are very good at retaining and developing. That's actually been a strength for them going back multiple seasons into the 2000 teens. So this is a strength for Penn State and should be moving forward. Transfer portal is also pretty decent. They're hovering right around that 50 mark year over year. This is another quality over quantity team in the portal, and we are seeing them actually attack this more of late, which includes some high-profile receivers this year. But let's get to the roster and what to expect for Penn State in this season, because there is a little bit of change to the roster as well as some continuity. So this is our 2-deep depth chart. We're trying to project everyone that might actually see the field for this team. We have transfers in yellow. We have the players' years, redshirt, sophomore, senior, whatever it may be. We have their snaps the last 2 seasons, their recruiting ranking in terms of a star rating, and then a value score. That starts with your recruitment, and then once you start playing football, the less it factors in recruiting and the more factors on field play. So Penn State has some very, very good returners. This is outside of the Illinois of the world. Among the elite teams in the Big Ten, this is the most experienced team so far. Let's dive into it. At the quarterback position, we have Drew Aller. He was the 26th most efficient QB in last year's class, 66.5% completion, 3,327 yards. That's 8.4 yards per attempt, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 21 big-time throws, only 10 turnover-worthy plays. He basically took a step forward in every single major statistical category passing, including downfield passing, which was a criticism of him under the previous regime. And he showed some mobility. He has 302 yards, that's 3.1 yards per carry. Early Heisman odds have him among the favorites. Mock drafts have him among the Garrett Nussmeyers, the Arch Mannings, right at the top. So this is one of the best quarterbacks in the country returning. Penn State has them. Behind him, Penn State did lose backup Bo Pribula, but they have former four-star Ethan Grunkmeyer still on the team. He was the 105th ranked player in the 2024 class. So backups still should be a strength for this team. I don't think you're really all that worried. This is more of a future concern. If Aller gets hurt for any reason or misses time, Penn State would probably be cooked. You never want to turn to a backup, but more glimpse moving forward of what the quarterback position looks like for Penn State. They have been recruiting this position well. Running back. I think this is the best running back room in the entire country. Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen both returned. Singleton, 6'1", 226. Last year, he rushed for 1,099 yards. That was 6.4 yards per carry. Caught 41 passes. He's a former five-star that now has 2,912 yards in his career with 78 catches. Kaytron Allen is not far behind. These players actually have very similar numbers. Allen is 5'11", 220 pounds, a former four-star. Last year, he rushed for 1,108 yards. That was 5 yards per carry. Caught 18 passes. In his career, he has 2,877 yards and 52 catches. Both of these players are going to the NFL next year. And they've been stacking backs behind these players. Four-star redshirt freshmen Corey Smith and Quinton Martin Jr. are still there. 2 incoming freshmen in this class, Jabari Wallace-Coleman and Tyke Hayes, are coming in. That's 6 players of elite recruiting caliber, and 2 of them that are among the most experienced and dynamic players in the country. This rushing attack should be elite. At wide receiver, there's no way around this. This is a position that has not lived up to expectation over the last few seasons. You have to go back to Jahan Dotson or Parker Washington to look at the last time Penn State actually developed an elite receiver. So it's been a while. They did lose some guys. I think that is for the better. Harrison Wallace, Amari Evans, and Julian Fleming. To replace them, they bring in Kyron Hudson from USC, Trevor Pena from Syracuse, and Devontae Ross from Troy. Hudson is 6'1", 205, caught 38 passes for 462 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's originally a 4-star. It did take him a while to get on the field with USC. Perimeter receiver, played 80% out wide. 1.32 yards per route leaves a bit to be desired, but luckily he doesn't need to be your wide receiver 1. Still an upgrade on that previous unit. Pena probably is your wide receiver 1. He's 6 feet, 184 pounds, caught 84 passes for 932 yards and 9 scores last year. Primarily a slot, 79% of the time he was lined up there, 1.76 yards per route. And he's been a player for a while now that Syracuse has relied on. He had a breakout in 2022. Then he got injured in 23 before last year's absolute eruption. So a lot of experience with Pena. Ross is a smaller player from Troy, 5'11", 161. Weirdly, he played on the perimeter there. 78% of his snaps came out wide, but he caught 75 balls for 1,042 yards and 11 touchdowns, 2.27 yards per route. And that's not all. They do have some players coming back. Liam Clifford returns. He was the 5th leading receiver last year. Played in the slot quite a bit, 71% of the time. 18 catches, 286 yards, 1.06 yards per route is not great. But even that, there is just a slew of unproven 4-stars, which under Kotelnicki, you'd think at some point we're going to get one of these players to develop. The unproven guys that are already on the roster, Caden Saunders, Anthony Ivy, Josiah Brown. Then they have incoming 4-stars, Kobe Howard, Lyric Samuel, and Matt Uten. So, I mean, there's 6 players that could potentially pop up and play some sort of role with this team. And I think the overall players that you brought in with the portal give you a good foundation if one of these players, the recruits, don't develop right away. So, I mean, this is the best receiver room Penn State's had in at least 3 or 4 years. There's really no arguing that. So we're expecting the pass game, at least among the receivers, to take a step forward. Tight end, they have to replace the do-it-all stud Tyler Warren, who's drafted by the Colts. They do return a lot of snaps at tight end. They were a really heavy 12 personnel team last year, but you just lose a dynamic edge that Warren brought. So Khalil Dinkins is back, 482 snaps last year. He's 6'4", 252, only 14 catches. A majority of his snaps were spent blocking, where he was a very good blocker. Luke Reynolds, he's a sophomore 4-star, played 267 snaps. He's 6'4", 248. He caught 9 passes for 111 yards, a little more of a receiver. But this team is also full of 4-stars at the tight end position. They have 5 of them in the depths. Andrew Raplea, Joey Schlafer, incoming 4-stars, Matt Henderson, Andrew Olish, Jeff Exner Jr., they're all still on the roster. Talent development has been awesome with Penn State at tight end, expecting the same moving forward this season. Probably not up to the Tyler Warren levels, but this is a unit that's been very good year over year, and they've earned the benefit of the doubt. Plus, they have quite a few players that have actually received snaps. We talked about the offensive line as a position that was originally one that had some questions, mainly last year. They lost a lot of players, and then it was a weak link, even though it was still pretty good. The only loss this season is Sal Wormley at right guard. So you're moving forward with a pretty experienced unit. At left tackle, Drew Shelton is back. Last year was his first year starting. He was definitely up and down, but at the end of the year, only 16 pressures allowed. A little bit of struggle in the run game, but now back for his second season. This should be at least more of a strength. At left guard, they returned Vega Ione, 2-year starter now. Ione was Penn State's best blocker overall, 17 pressures, no sacks allowed, very good in the run game. He should lock down the left guard position. Nick Dawkins is back at center after 978 snaps. Better as a run blocker, did allow 29 pressures, so he definitely needs to improve. You can't have pressure coming from the very center of the offensive line, but another year in the program should help. From there, right guard, they are replacing Wormley, so there's not a clear starter right now. I think 4-star Cooper Cousins is the early favorite. He played 172 snaps last year. Struggled a lot, but he was also a freshman, so year over year expecting some improvement from the 4-star sophomore. And then finally, right tackle, it was a battle last year between Nolan Rucci and Anthony Dunco. They both played a lot. They've both been hurt. They've both been banged up in the spring. But overall, Rucci played 568 snaps last year at right tackle, 13 pressures allowed. Dunco played 436 snaps last year, all at right tackle, 8 pressures allowed. Both of them pretty solid run blockers. I've been of the mind it could be beneficial to get both on the field at the same time, moving one maybe to guard, but that doesn't look like it's in the plans for now. We'll see what they do in the summer. When both of them were out in the spring, 4-star sophomore, Javen Williams filled in. They also have a couple other depth pieces. TJ Shanahan comes in from Texas A&M, presumably as a backup. He was horrible when he played there. Started 4 games the last year. A lot of elite 4-star talent in the depths. Redshirt sophomore Chimdi Ono, Alex Birchmeyer. They have Egan Boyer back. They also recruited Garrett Sexton, Malachi Goodman, and Owen Alicien from the last 2 classes. So a lot of depth, and wouldn't be surprised if one of them takes over. Defensively, at edge, they lose Abdul Carter. Very hard to live up to a top 3 pick in the NFL draft, but if anyone's going to do it, I mean, Danny Denise Sutton is an awesome player. He's a former 5-star, 608 snaps last year, 45 QB pressures, good run defender. I mean, playing opposite Abdul Carter will definitely help you, but I mean, he's as good as a returner gets in college football. Behind him, there isn't really a proven commodity, but there's a lot of options. They had Texas A&M transfer, Eni White, former 4-star. He's been injured a lot throughout his career, so we haven't seen a ton of him. 4-star Zariah Fisher played 237 snaps last year, in 2023. Last year, he missed the entire season with an injury. This is another player that's been plagued by injuries throughout his career. They also got 55 snaps from freshman Max Granville, 33 from Jalen Harvey. Probably not quite as strong, but I don't think the drop-off is going to be steep for the defensive line, especially on the edge. Defensive tackle, they returned their top player, Zane Durant, lost a couple of others in rotation, Devon J. Thomas and Keziah Izzard, but Durant played 658 snaps. He's been part of a rotation for a while now, a little undersized at 288, but he's a good run defender. Behind him, James Franklin specifically singled out Alonzo Ford Jr. and Xavier Gilliam as the next man up. They both played a little bit last year, 186 and 55 snaps. Ford was very good against the run. He's 320 pounds, so that makes sense. There's also some depth. They have Owen Waffle, the Michigan transfer. He is a former 4-star. Second year, 3-star Ty Blanding played 53 snaps. Redshirt freshman Liam Andrews is on the team. I think overall, the defensive line maybe took a slight step back, but want to emphasize the word slight. This should be another awesome unit and be around the top 25 in this upcoming season. Linebacker, Penn State did lose Kobe King, but they returned 656 snaps from Tony Rojas and 387 from Dominic DeLuca. Rojas, a junior 4-star, started for the first time last year. Only real problem with him was missed tackles. His run defense numbers aren't quite as high as they should have been because he missed 19 tackles. That was 22% of his potential attempts. But he was solid the year prior with the tackles, so hopefully this just corrects. It was a blip on the radar. He also was good as a situational rusher. He had 14 pressures. He had 3 PBUs and 3 INTs. So clean up the missed tackles, and we're looking at an elite player overall. DeLuca played a situational role basically the last 3 years. But man, was he productive on his snaps. Only 387 snaps, but 40 tackles, 9 pressures, and 3 picks. What an incredible amount of rate stats for him. Linebacker should be fine at the top. Behind them, Keon Wiley's back. Former 4-star Anthony Specka's back. Specka played 60 snaps last year. Wiley missed the whole season due to injury, but he played 102 snaps in 23. Couple incoming 4-stars in Cameron Smith, LeVar Arrington II, and Alex Tatch. So there is a lot of potential with the youth. But up at the top, we need some help for Rojas and DeLuca, given the loss of Kobe King. Defensive back, they're turning over about half of their secondary. Outside corner, A.J. Harris is back, the former Georgia 4-star. Started last year, was elite in coverage on 729 snaps. 56% completion, 3 PBUs, 1 INT. Great place to start. Injuries allowed some other players to receive snaps. Elliott Washington II played 366. Think he's a good candidate to fill in on the boundary. Former 4-star, good in run support. Washington has been also recognized as one of the players in the spring to have developed the most, which is positive. Nickel Zion Tracy played 390 snaps. He's a 4-star junior. He was a somewhat of a weak link in coverage with the 64% completion. But again, some injuries occurred on the Penn State back end last year. There's also some other guys that got snaps. Davian Collins played 252. Kenny Wosley Jr. played 51. Dakari Nelson played 67. Nelson has a lot of versatility. He played in the box and the slot. There's also a pair of 4-star freshmen in Darius Dixon and Jameer Joseph. So cornerback should be a pretty good position, a position of strength. At safety, they lose Jalen Reed, but they have Zakee Wheatley back after 884 snaps. He was awesome in run defense with 96 tackles. He also had 4 PBUs and 3 interceptions. The other safety spot is open. With Reed gone, the favorite is DeJuan Lane. He's a former 4-star. He's played all over the defense, but did play 155 snaps last year. Very strong in coverage with 3 PBUs, 1 INT. That was all on 9 targets too. So very good in a small sample. But they also added via depth. King Mack is back after he went to Alabama for a year in 2024. Former 4-star, slot and safety versatility with him. Couple 4-stars still in the depths. Babu Torre, he played 41 snaps last year as well. Special teams. At kicker, they return Ryan Barker. He's missed just 1 extra point out of 49 attempts. Went 15 of 18 on field goals. All of those misses came from 40-plus, but he's not known for range. He was 0 of 1 on 50-plus yard attempts. Barker finishes the 31st most efficient kicker in last year's season, which is a solid place to start. That is very good for a kicker in college football. Overall, this roster is awesome. I think there maybe are points that are weaker than last year, but it is also extremely hard to argue this roster is worse. I would not make that argument. I would certainly argue it is better. So can they get over the hump and get to the national championship they so desperately desire? Let's take a look at the schedule because the roster is certainly better. They start with a really easy non-con. Nevada, FIU, and Villanova before a bye. Luckily, that bye occurs before one of the most challenging games on the schedule, Oregon. So they're set up pretty well to come into that game. Oregon has a lot of change, including a new QB, so that is about the best time to face them. They do play some other hard games. They get Ohio State in Week 10. That is a road trip for them. They also have to go to Iowa, who's no easy feat ever. Indiana's on the roster. There's a lot of middling teams in the Big Ten. Nebraska's on the schedule. UCLA, that's another road trip. They play a couple bottom feeders. Northwestern's there. Michigan State's there. Rutgers is there. So there are some layups, but this is far from an easy schedule for Penn State. Luckily, they have a more talented team than most of the Big Ten, so they should be at the very worst 10-2 again, based on how they compete against Oregon and Ohio State, in my opinion. Even the Iowa is just very clearly a more talented roster than a team like that. So are we dealing with a team that wins the Big Ten and gets a bye? Or are we dealing with a team that maybe comes in as an 11 seed and then has to face a difficult opponent in week 1? Ultimately, the expectation should be clear, and that's the playoff. They need to make the playoff. They need to win at least a game and achieve something more very soon with the current track record of them just getting stopped on that final rung of the ladder repeatedly. But ultimately, this is a great team. I think they can do it. We'll do our predictions later in the summer when we get more information, but they're going to be right there among the postseason favorites. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. We'll be back again soon with more breakdowns, but until then, good luck. We'll see you guys next time.